Hey everyone, so I made a video, another one, and this is probably going to be video like, I don't know, 150. It seems like I get ideas, quite frequently, so with the ideas I get, I want to share them with you. So I made actually, I already uploaded one video, and I'm sure you've seen it if you're keeping an eye on my channel, but I created one today. I have yet to upload it, and I have two more actually that I got to do. One being the one I'm doing right now. It's the one of two. So the second one after I'm done will be I'll be making. So basically, the video that I created earlier, I actually recorded it last night, but no, I recorded it this morning. And so I got the idea of the video I'm making earlier today. So I wanted to be able to speak about it. And so it's more or less talking about self-denial. And the video that I created was talking about we as Christians taking up the cross and following Jesus. So while I was speaking on it, well, actually, it was after I spoke about it. Later on in the day, I get a text, and it's something that I had to do that I forgot about. And I made a promise to a certain person about doing it. And I look back on the text to make sure that I didn't overlook and that, I didn't promise something that I wasn't going to fulfill. Because to me, that's a big thing, fulfilling promises. And if I've made a promise to somebody, I want to do everything I can to fulfill that. So I completely, apparently forgot about it, about taking a person to something. And so at that time I was eating. And, a certain time during the day, my body, I need to lay down and take a nap to rest my body. And I've done that for years. And it helps me to feel better. And so realizing that I had to take this person to a certain place, I was like, oh man, because I felt like I was dragging. And so it was inconvenient. But then as I was driving, of course, I'm the kind of person that, will complain, about having to do something, at an inconvenient time. But then God brought it to mind. He more or less was like saying, you spoke about self-denial. Well, here's your chance to deny yourself. And so the circumstance came up, and he brought that to mind. I was like, okay. So that is what I'm more or less speaking about is, God testing our words, what we say. If we're speaking about patience, telling people they need to be patient, well, God's going to be bringing those circumstances to your door. Say, okay, you spoke about patience. I'm going to give you some impatient people to deal with. And he's going to test our words to see if we're, really walking in them. Or we going to be like the Pharisees and be hypocrites. So I want to share that message with you. And the title of this video is going to be called Testing Your Heart. So like I said, I made a video about, taking up our cross and speaking about self-denial. So circumstances always come up to where I have no time to rest. And like I already stated that, it seems that there is always something to do. And so, once everything is done, then at that moment I really have no time to rest. So I can understand where Jesus was coming from. But Jesus was always willing. I mean, he would be so worn down that, I guess the disciples would get irritated, and maybe Jesus was about to lay down, and then people came to him. So he graciously, went to them, healed them, and I'm sure his disciples were walking in flesh saying, "Tell them to go away." And Jesus was like, "This is the reason why I came, is to seek and save the lost." So, you could tell that, when the disciples and Jesus were on the boat, Jesus laid his head on a cushion and he was out. And, apparently he was so deep in sleep, maybe it was exhaustion. He was so deep in sleep that nothing woke him up. The movement of the waves didn't wake him up. But, the disciples shook him and were like, "Lord, don't you care that we're going to drown?" So I'm sure Jesus was irritated. And he got up, rebuked the wind and the waves, and they stopped. And they turned to him and says, where's your faith? So, Jesus always dealt with inconveniences in, his walk on earth. And so we as Christians have to deal with those conveniences ourselves. So more or less in this video, I want to be real with you like I do with my other videos. I want to show you what I deal with in hopes that it will lead you into making the right decisions. So like I said, the circumstances always come up. There could be errands that need to be done. And by the time that they're done, the resting period, I never had one. And so God graciously fills me up with strength to where he takes the fatigue away from me. And, I praise him for that. So, today I took I guess it would be like a 20-minute nap. And I was right out, And then I set my alarm and I came and did these videos. So, even when I worked at a pizza place, there would be like errands to run, and by the time that they were done, I didn't have much time to rest, so I was really dragging, and then I had to peel myself up and go to work, and God filled me with strength even then. So, he could do that with us, but like I said, it's all about, being inconvenienced and how we're going to deal with that. So, like I said, God tested my heart after speaking about taking up my cross. So he said, okay, you're going to speak about self-denial. I'm going to give you a circumstance that's going to deal with that. And I'm going to test and see how you're going to respond to it. And of course, I think with my complaining, it wasn't good. And God brought it to mind, and I was like, oh, man. So, it's one of those, circumstances that, that's a win and a lose. And, it's just something that God has to work on in my heart. So, he may be doing the same thing with you. And so we as Christians, we need to practice what we preach. Now, the Pharisees told people what to do, but they didn't do it themselves. They were hypocrites. And Jesus told the people to do as they say, not as they do. So it's not that what they said was wrong, because they were speaking the laws of God, even though if they were using it the wrong way, they had no love for the people. Their words were more or less true because they were God's words. They were there to lead the people into holiness. And so Jesus said, you need to listen to what they say, but don't take their example. So, in the same way with us, is that we may go out and encourage people, but we need to realize that, we're going to have to walk out exactly what we're speaking. We need to remember that God will test our words and what we speak. Will we do as we have said? We can speak about inconveniences and being loving and gracious. So, with different circumstances, how will we be? Like, if we're getting ready to go to sleep at night and we receive a phone call, you know, at 11 p.m. or 12 in the morning, and somebody needs a ride somewhere, or there's an emergency or anything like that, and, if you're speaking about people, telling people that they need to be gracious in inconveniences, then God's going to test your very heart with that. Or when you're about to do something, or you're currently doing something, and then something comes up to where you're taken away from that could be an inconvenience. Or maybe you're sitting at the dinner with your family, maybe a pastor or somebody in your church that, ministers to people. Well, you could be about to sit down for dinner, and then a friend knocks on the door and they need prayer because they're going through a hard situation, or whatever it may be. It's taking you away from what you want to do to what needs to be done. So, God can test our patience in any way. So the purpose of this video is more or less to bring that, openly. And for me to ask you, how will you deal with inconveniences in your own life? How will you deal with, denying yourself the things that you want to do to the things that need to be done? So I'm going to end it here. Thanks for taking the time to watch.